Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I join in your humble appreciation for the cast that we're looking at today. Your resume, your collective resume, is indeed impressive. Dr. Murthy, I want to talk to you a little bit about the WHO. You heard me in my opening statement talk about how staggered I was at their incompetence when admittedly, I had never worked with them before on anything, and when COVID raised its ugly head, we needed help, and we needed help badly. And the place we turned to was the WHO, and I was just blown away at the incompetence that I ran into there. It needs reform. It needs lots of different stuff. What are your thoughts on how you're going to approach that?
Well, thank you, Senator. And I must say, your statements at the opening about your concerns about the WHO, about the need for it to be effective and competent at what it does, I think I understand those, and I share a deep concern for the status quo being continued. I think we've got to make things better. Here's how I think about it, sir. I think one of the things that we've got to focus on is accountability at the WHO. We are the biggest investor in the WHO, and the real question is, are we delivering the value for the American people that those dollars should get? I don't think we're there yet. I think we need to know that the WHO has transparency when it comes to how funds are being used, that we have clarity about goals, what those goals are, what the timeline is on which they're being accomplished. I think we also need transparency in decision making, which has not always been there. And finally, we need workforce accountability. The allegations of sexual exploitation and abuse, these are horrifying. There should be no tolerance for that kind of behavior from any organization, much less one entrusted with the safety and the health and well-being of people around the world. But I also think, sir, when it comes to pandemic preparedness, the world needs to be able to rely on the WHO to function and function well, both during a pandemic, but also beforehand, to help prevent the next one and ensure we're prepared. And that means setting up the kind of surveillance and rapid alert systems and transparent data sharing that we need but don't quite have yet. It means having a robust rapid response, ensuring that we have the ability to manufacture and distribute countermeasures around the world so that everyone can benefit from the discoveries and scientific advances that ultimately help us get through pandemics. So these are some of the areas where I believe we need to focus. That is why my priority, if I have the privilege of serving, sir, would be to focus specifically on these two areas of pandemic preparedness and better governance and transparency at the WHO. And I would look to do that both in my voice at executive board meetings, working in consultation and partnership with you and other members of this committee, and with partners in the State Department, USAID, and our Department of Health and Human Services.
Well, I think you got that exactly right. I think both of those areas of focus are incredibly important, particularly the preparation for the next one. After we've been through this as a world, we know the heartache and the issues that this causes, and there's no reason we shouldn't be prepared, much more prepared for the next one. Also, getting accurate information. One of the things I get most from constituents is they really don't believe they got accurate information from the very beginning. They still don't think they're getting accurate information, and that's sometimes you just don't know. And it's better to say that than to try to give information that misleads people. Anyway, thank you for that. I think you got that right. My time's short, but I do want to ask, because of the pool of talent we have here, I do want to ask. I get reports regarding the Sahel. I'm also a senior Republican on the Intelligence Committee, so I get it here and I get it there. And it's been one of the most disheartening things for me is to watch how the Sahel has deteriorated in recent years. Part of it, of course, is because of our success in the Middle East. We drove a lot of the terrorists out of there. Where'd they go? They went to the next weakest link in the chain, and that was the Sahel. And it looks to me, I could be wrong on this, but it looks to me like it's going to be even tougher in the Sahel because of the weakness of the governments there and the corruption and everything else that's there. It's going to be even more difficult there to take on the terrorism issue that we've had to deal with in the Middle East. somebody help me out here. Give me some optimistic view, and if not, how we're going to do that. You all have tremendous resumes. Who wants to take a shot at this?
My team is throwing me under the bus.
Yeah, there you go. Been there.
It's very interesting. We do need to make a more concerted effort not to just focus on security assistance, which is very important and vital. We need to keep our security assistance to countries like Niger. But more importantly is we need to help reinforce state legitimacy with their people. We've got to make sure that governments are making those connections and that service delivery is happening. And fighting corruption is very important in that, but even more important is people need to feel that their government is protecting them and their government is providing for them. And if that's not happening, these youngsters, in Niger in particular, 70% of the population is youth. And they're very, very easily led astray by violent extremist organizations. So we have to have that total whole of government. We call it the 3Ds, defense, democracy, diplomacy, and development package to make sure that we are trying to alleviate the conditions that are creating the recruitment or the recruits for those organizations. But we still do need to undergird that with security assistance. I know that Niger is right now, in Nigeria, the two countries still standing as democracies in the region. And we need to work more closely together between those countries and ECOWAS to strengthen the institutions, the security apparatus, to fight terrorism, but also to fight terrorism and make sure that the next elections in Niger, which are coming in a few years, that we're working towards that now. We can't just wait till an election comes and then have a crisis and a military coup happen.
With the increase that we've had in terrorist activity in the Sahel, do you think the countries are getting any better in dealing with that on a positive basis, or are they just accepting it? What's your view of that?
My experience has been Nigeria is getting better at it. Part of it is some of the foreign military sales that we've made to Nigeria that's making them more attuned to being precise in their attacks. And also more collaboration with the neighbors and information sharing. In Niger's case, I think our partner capacity that we've been building is doing a good job for them. The most recently U.S.-trained unit just went to the border with Benin, so they're actually positioning those troops where they should be, not keeping them back in Niamey. They're putting them out on the front line. So in Niger, I think we're making progress. In the other countries in the Sahel, with the military takeovers that we've had, I would argue that we're not. The other thing in Niger is that they're very much against the incursion of Russian organizations like Wagner. They're very tuned to what's happening in Benin and Burkina Faso. So bolstering their resolve and bolstering their capacity to protect their borders and be able to be a beacon in the region for what democracy can bring to their people is the way we have to go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your thoughts on that. And my time's way past up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.